Alright guys, so we're going to do a somewhat more professional video today. I'm going to show you guys how to hopefully repair one of these clusters. This one, as you can see, old green bean needs resoldered. So I've already actually soldered this once a couple of years ago, kind of crappily. So we're going to resolder it again today, hopefully. So what we're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver of some flavor, some solder paste, a solder gun, preferably not as cheap as that one. And we're going to have a multimeter here too to test the lights while we're in there for all your gauges, because gauge lights go out all the time too. But I'm afraid that these vans sometimes get scrapped for a bad solder joint on these boards, which these pins right here, I can actually see the pin that's bad. This pin right here is pushed down further. So that pin is for sure there's an issue with it. So we're gonna start taking this apart. But anyway, as I was saying, I'm afraid that some of these vans get parked and junked for bad clusters. You can't really, sometimes I've got one where it wouldn't let the vehicle start. Okay, now that we've got that cover off, we got to start unscrewing the screws for the board. But as I was saying anyway, I've had one of these where they wouldn't let the van start without the cluster functioning. So whatever pin wasn't working there was causing an issue with the whole vehicle system, allowing it to start. But others I've had it where they'll go out while you're driving and it'll keep driving down the road okay. But if it ever happens to you guys and you're in the middle of somewhere where you're not home or whatever, sometimes if you just bang on the cluster hard enough, a little bit of percussive maintenance, it'll wiggle those joints back to at least where they'll work long enough to get you home. But this is really it's not a complicated repair. You just got to get the cluster out, which isn't hard either. It's just that panel right over the dash, and there's a couple how-tos on the YouTubes on how to do that. I've also shown how to do it once or twice, I think, but that's not so bad, and this isn't so bad either. Either that, or at least you get it out and you can send the cluster in to have somebody else solder it, or take it into like a computer repair shop. They should be able to do that too, no problem, as long as you just show them, hey, here's the joints that are bad, because it's really only the joints here that go bad. Oop, there's a bump the cluster. So now we got all those screws out. We might as well while the board's still in here, right? Here, we'll take this out here. And so what's really holding this board in right now is these little pins here. These are for your actual gauges. And so you got this nice little hook here. You can get your hand up here like this and just kind of wiggle on it, boom. And you go onto this side, wiggle up, and boom, it's loose. Then you want to get this ribbon cable off. So probably do that while it's still secure, but there it goes. So the ribbon's out, board's out. Now careful not to try to get your fingerprints all over these bulbs. These are actually dusty, so I'll get a clean cloth in here and I'll wipe these off after we test whether they're good or not. But right here, and you're actually upside down for me, so I'll probably have to flip this in post, but I can see this joint right here on the end is cracked for sure. This joint on this end is cracked, and this seems to be the same joints as all of them. This joint right here is cracked. Yeah, and this one here, the 4 outer ones appear to be bad. So we will resolder, this one especially is really bad right here. So we're going to resolder these 4 outer joints. The rest of them look okay to me. Here, let's press on them real quick. If they're really bad, you'll actually be able to move the pin. Now that I can like blatantly move the pin here, I'm gonna try for this corner one here one more time. I'm pretty sure I can get that one to move. No, maybe not. Yeah, I got to move just a little bit. Anyway, it's got 4 bad pins that we can see. Now, it wouldn't hurt to just have them all resoldered, but I truly think the rest are fine. It's just those, maybe this one right here. We'll go and we'll just solder a bunch of them. So let's get our board set down. Probably get this out of the way. We'll just set our board down like that. That should be fine. Now what we're going to want to do, get some solder paste here, and we're just going to goop up these joints here with some solder paste. Just have it pretty put in place here. So I will, and I'm just using the solder to apply it, so I don't know. A lot of times you want to use a brush because you don't want to scratch the board, but I'm not too worried about it, to be honest with you. It's not like a computer board where you got tons of little tiny strands. See these little copper traces, they're all pretty giant, pretty hard, and it's covered, so I'm thinking we'll be alright. But I think we'll just go and we'll touch up all of these. Why not? We're in here, right? So I think that'll be enough solder paste. I can't, it was called flux or something like that. So there, that might be a little crude, but hey, it shows that it's not that hard to do. Now I'll wipe this excess off because we're going to use this solder. Got my cheap little gun. I can't remember where I got this from. Somewhere, some auto parts store, I think. But get this in my left hand because I'm left-handed for the most part. Actually, I think I'm ambidextrous, but you know, whatever. Besides the point here. We're going to get somewhere where I can lean my arm. And what we're going to do here, we're going to start with this one. We're just going to heat up this joint here. Get it nice, cooking hot. And it should at some point get warm enough. Solder's starting to melt here. Get a nice round bead. There. Move on to the next one. Okay. On to this one. Okay. On to the next one here. That was a good one. Okay. There we go. And so a lot of this here is we're probably remelting the existing solder just fine. Add a little bit on there. Okay. And we'll take a look here. I'll look pretty close. I'd say that they all look, this one needs more solder. Especially the one that's prone to break. Let's get a little extra on there. Heat it back up. Come on. There we go. Maybe that one too. There. Otherwise, yeah, maybe that one. Ate a little too much solder off of it. I would say the rest look pretty good. They're not touching each other, you know, any of that weirdness. But now we have a board that has been resoldered once again. I'll take a towel in there and I'll wipe up some of that extra soldered juice fluid. But that should repair the cluster. Alright, so now let's get this cluster board back in the actual cluster. So, same, just opposite of disassembly. Make sure we get this guy up out of the way, kind of line it up. And what I do is I start from one side, press down, lock those in, just work your way across the board, double check, make sure it's all seated. Okay, then get this guy in, and then screw it in. But before we do that, let's go ahead and let's just test all these bulbs. So, got my multimeter here, and so we're going to turn it to ohms. Make sure you got it in the right spot here. And what we're looking for is I'll put you right there. That way you can read. See how it's showing open? So when we go ahead and touch these two together, see how it zeroes out? Continuity. So we're going to go to each bulb here. We're going to hit on each of the pins, and we should see that drop to 0. That means we got a good bulb, no resistance. Or good continuity, I guess, you know. And these little ones we'll test too. As you can see, all of our bulbs are good. So, this cluster is ready to go, besides putting it back together here quick, which I'll show you right now. Let's do that. Oh, I see where I missed the screw. I was like, I'm gonna have an extra screw here by the time I'm done, but we'll be able to actually recover this. You'll see. You're probably yelling at me which one I missed. So we'll finish this one off right here. Then we'll take this tag off because it doesn't need resoldered anymore. Maybe I'll just leave it on. No, it won't, because I'll get confused or the next person will get confused or whatever. So that one right there I missed, if you didn't catch that. Luckily it was that one, I could see it. So, otherwise I think missing one screw on this board isn't going to hurt you too bad. Alright, there we go. And it's all back together, as you can see. And we're going to go put it back in the van and see how it works. And I will show you that it works here in a little bit. For about a second for you guys, 20 minutes for me. And it works. As you can see, we are good to go.